I tell you, the preacher, the president, the recruiter, the chief surgeon, the chief of staff, the president of Virginia and America and all nations has made his arrival. All trains, hacks, buses, cabs, bikes, and Patton Ben have made it to Virginia U. Listen, we're so excited. Last year, he came to Baltimore and he blessed us heavily. And so we are just honored. Doc, if you can come up with me, please. We're so honored that this gentleman has not only labored, but he lives the life that he talks about. And so, President Lucas, on behalf of the staff at JV Educational Consultants, we want to honor you with this service award for opening up your doors, your heart, your staff, this college, and just the environment. And the participants alone are joining in with me to say thank you for what you do. And listen, this place is a jewel. So we celebrate you and we love you.
Grace and peace to everyone. Good afternoon. Are you enjoying Virginia Union? I know some of you are from Virginia. Sorry it's taking me so long to get up here. You know, sometimes getting out the planes, you hit your foot and you don't know it. You know, you do your foot on the rail and then you hit your head on the top. Well, I did one of those twofers, and that's all right. It has me down these J's for a couple of days, but it's all right. God is good anyway. I know a couple of you are from Virginia, the Commonwealth. Others who are not, welcome to the Commonwealth. Those who are, and this is your first time here, I know Dr. Vance did say Department of Juvenile Justice, I believe, or some others are here. So hello, welcome, and we look forward to whatever partnerships we can have and continue to grow the relationship. As you know, the topic that we're talking about today and you're talking about, I believe for 2-3 days, is very important. Mentoring, particularly when we talk about men of color and men in general, and the discussions that we have in our local communities, which we have regionally, which we have nationally and international, are very important to if you will, not only our communities, but the future of this world in which we live. To talk about the role that, and I'm going to focus a little bit, men of color have to play, and men at large in the developmental sense is very critical to the fabric of our very communities. While we do believe in a Me Too movement context that the, if you will, preparation and mentorship of males does not exclude the mentorship or the importance of guidance of females or any other label you would want to give yourself, because in today's time period, male is not exclusive to just gender. We do believe that this conversation is a cornerstone for how we begin to talk about the leadership that is needed of the generation that we are all called to serve. The conversation that I would like to have for a couple of moments, and of course, thanking one person I haven't seen yet is Dr. Stiles. But wherever she is, may God bless her for the work that she has done. But the conversation for us has to be one on how do we, as men, prepare ourselves for leading organizations in a world and in a context that is increasingly not focused on gender exclusivity, but gender equity and equality. How do you live your life as a male leader of organizations And you'll see I'll focus down a little bit on higher education and higher education space because that's the space I'm in. But how do we lead people? How do we lead other young men, older men, in it, because this is a multi-generational context in the world in which we live? How do we lead women and be empowering to them? And of course, those who do not allow themselves to be captured or limited by these labels that we currently have. What we're all clear about is that mentorship is a word that must reside in the context of service, right? If you don't believe in people, it's probably not a good idea to be a mentor. Would you agree? Look, if you don't like people, you're probably not going to do well as a mentor. Would you all agree? Look, introversion, extroversion, the way in which you see the world and view the world, those are only different levels of the understanding of self. And they do not exclude you from participating as a mentor. But fundamentally, if you're not involved in some level of service, or you don't have an appreciation for humanity, you probably should opt out of this job. Here are some other things. Look, if you fundamentally want people to do what you say, and you can't deal with the agricultural aspects of human development, what does that mean? That means you got to put a seed in some things and walk away from it. If you want people to do what you say, when you say it, how you say it, you probably don't want to get involved in mentorship. If you want to plant a seed and see somebody be everything you said the next day in 24 hours, you probably don't want to get engaged in what? Come on, say it. It's going to be like a church service every now and then. You have a union, so you're going to get a little bit about that. But that's not what it is, right? The context in which this conversation has to be shaped in, let's go from the beginning, is a conversation for people lovers who are committed to service, who understand what it means to grow people from where they are to where they want to be. Not where you want them to be, but where they want to be. Respecting the ways in which they define themselves, and also providing an opportunity for them, particularly for males, to be authentically who they are in alignment with how they perceive themselves to be in the context and specific time period in which they view themselves. How do you say that simply? Just let them be. Mentorship and being are all connected. It's hard to grow people today. You know why? Because the mentee sometimes struggles with understanding the patience it takes to grow into something more than what they see themselves in today's context. Generational divides are real. Man, I tell you, access to resources are real. Finding people who really love people is real. Understanding the role of what it means to be male and what mentorship is about is real. Ultimately, extracting the value of purpose in this context is real. Gauging people's desire and grit and whether or not you're wasting your time or whether this is really patient stewardship of human capital called mentorship is real. And ultimately, the most hardest of them all is working without thank you. Man, it's hard to work without thank you. I try to greet everybody that works with me just with at least a quick, how you doing? Thank you for this. Ida's here, COO is here. Brown helped me prepare. The difficulty of the conversation is because if I'm going to go into it right, and I just got 5 slides, and I'm sorry that you have to hear me ramble a little bit about how I frame my thinking, but man, it is important for us in the conversation about mentoring, as it is geared and shaped toward male development, to have a conversation about the distinction between mentoring as motivation and mentoring as modeling. And that's where I'm really going to settle in and give my little, I don't know how much more time I have. I got about 10 more minutes. Yeah, well, in 10 minutes, is that all right? All right, so let me go through and just provide context. Of course, I want to thank JV, Dr. Vance, and so Dr. Stowns, everybody. Okay, so here's the term that I'm really connecting to, transcendent leadership. Just so, look, you're in an educational institution, we got to give you a little bit of theory stuff. And so I just want to go through. You can read the slide for yourself. But the leadership style that I like to, if you will, incorporate is the ability to view oneself as always the point of learning and growth while you work with others to learn and grow. And so we're all learning and growing together, and I'm leading Virginia Union University from a place of discovering how I daily can be better for the people who are around me, and trying to learn from them so that they can also participate with me in growing better every day individually. And if we grow together individually, then guess what's going to happen? We're going to grow together as a community, displaying the honesty that is necessary, the vulnerability that is necessary, and ultimately the focus and the attention to strategically align our priorities to where we want to go. In the context of mentorship, mentorship is often our ability to remind people about who and what we are, and the struggles that the mentor has had, and put ourselves on full display in the most vulnerable way with the most authenticity we can for those who will call themselves mentees. The practice of mentorship, I like what Dr. Mulder brings out, and just revisiting it, and this is a 2019 source. But it aligns itself, I think, with transcendent leadership in the sense that, and I'll read this one, just parts of it, but the quality of good mentorship comes from the mentor not considering themselves to be better than the other person, but a personal guidance, help, and support. The foundation must be quality, and allowing mentees to feel heard, the need to be able to see, and I'm going to use that word often, see the mentor as someone they can trust, bounce ideas off of, and go for advice. Transcendent leadership, right? That you lead from a space in which you want to be better as the persons you work with around you, no matter what the hierarchy is, no matter whose title is bigger and who gets paid more. No, the fact is that we're all working together to be better individually and collectively, with a context of mentorship where we're bringing people along on our journey so that they can do what? Ask questions. They can have an example, see in us the various struggles that are real in leadership, personally, professionally, and allow them to receive the support, the help, the guidance that they need for their own journey. The best way that I can contextualize these coming together is just asking someone, or someone asking you, can you walk with me? Walking with me is important because as a mentor in a relationship where I'm trying to build leaders, I have a whole lot of folk walking with me. How many members of the staff do I have? How many? I have about 300. Approximately 305, 304. Yeah. And so that's Brown. I'll introduce him later. Brown. So I have approximately 305 staff members, 305 people who are walking with me to create a certain level of what we desire to see, best-in-class higher educational institution anchored in 4 strategic areas: academic excellence, student success, entrepreneurial enterprise, and brand prestige. People who get paid all types of different sums of dollars, who report to 6 different vice presidents. The executive vice president, COO, is Dr. Carter. She's back there protecting the door so that nobody comes in and takes care of me or anything, right? Nobody can come and escort me out. So she's there. And everybody here is working with one thing in mind. No matter what your job is, please understand the importance of the aesthetics and that you got to keep the grounds clean, because that's the first thing that people see, right? Please, when you see people, provide the greatest sense of hospitality, because hospitality is the hallmark of an educational institution. Please, when students stop, when they want to ask a question or have a problem, on my way here, I've heard 3 good problems. And I just tell them, DM me and we'll take care of it, because it's the responsiveness that keeps them coming back. But in either way, I must have the vulnerability and the authenticity to open my leadership up for people to walk with me. Mentorship, the context in which you allow people to walk with you. Look, Brown, you see him, the guy right there, the man who put this together for me. Brown is how old? 25 years old. When did I meet you, Brown? 23. I met you when you was 23. I came here as president. He was already hired here. I walked into the room and said, thank you, nice to meet all of you. This group is now called Business Intelligence. Anybody that doesn't want to go this way, you can have a vacation tomorrow. Didn't I say that? And I said, anybody who wants to go with me, come back tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you what the Lord told me and the way we're going to go. Didn't I say that? Yes. It's true. Because I could be wrong. Maybe I didn't remember. You know, you get older and you know, your memory is different, and so they can't. But Brown, you know, it's funny when you walk with somebody how many times people will quit, you know. They'll see that too, right? I quit at least, 3 times a week. They quit at least 5, 6 times. And the older we get, we just realize that, guess what? Quit less, right? That the longer you're here, the length of time is not about how much you stay, but how many times you stop quitting, right? And ultimately, that's called resilience. That our ability to, when we meet problems that we don't. It could have been me. I know he's not turning my mic off. That's all right. I appreciate you, my young brother.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, brother. That's workforce development. Give him a hand. All the students have a job, and so it's good to see them working. My point is, I met Brown, 25 years old, a VSU alum by that, a Trojan, working in Panther Nation. See, here they go. Here they go. And he went on to get his master's in economics. And he just finished, right, Brown? And so proud of him. But he said he wanted to be a president. I said, all right. I said, you know you're not one now, right? You see, because that's where it begins. You can't start walking. I'm going somewhere. Just follow me. Mentoring men, mentoring men, mentoring men. It's about letting you walk with me. But you can't walk with me if you don't realize you're not who you think you are now. I can't have a 25-year-old walk with me thinking he's a president. It would be a disservice to him for me to allow him to think he made it yet. That's not hating. That's not disrespect. That's keeping it real and honest. Letting you know that you are not there yet. Because walking with me takes truth. Ain't right, Brown? I got to tell you the truth. Even when you don't want to hear it. Even when you think you did a great job. How many times, Brown, did y'all say y'all did a great job on the presentation? I said, Because when you walk with me, I don't have to talk to you. There's just mumblings and sighs and looks that I can give that let you know you ain't walking right. Ain't that right, Brown? That when you walk with me, it gets so good, I don't even have to say anything. And you'll hear them now, they'll start talking. I think Kiara Walker with me too. She's in charge of, she's the chief millennial director and does all the social media. And you want to introduce yourself too? His brother Kelvin brought him 2 years ago. He's an alum. He does all the video and stuff, and so everybody that follows on social media. But I want you to see the people who are around me. Walking with me. Dr. Carter came from Bethune-Cookman. She was in charge of enrollment management. I promoted her up, but she's walking with me. Brock Mayers is the new dean of students. He's back there, wave your hand. He came from Morehouse College a couple of months ago. Dr. Sealy is there. He was in education, teaching in the master curriculum and instruction, said he wants to be a president too, and crossed over into administration. Now he does operations management for corporate external affairs. He's there, wave your hand, he's walking with me. And then there's Ida. Ida is there. Ida actually has been in the university. This is your what, 18th year, Ida? 31st year? This is Ida's 31st year. Ida don't want to leave me. You gonna walk with me, Ida? You walking with me, she walking me all the way to the CIAA. And that's why I bless her on the CIAA. We got our little thing. But she is operations manager and working with the office of the executive vice president. But I have all these people coming, walking with me. Walking with me. Focused on allowing the context called Virginia Union to be transcendental for those who come so that they can experience what we call the Great Awakening. Awakening themselves to the promise of a limitless future, knowing that who they believe they can be, it can happen. Because we're walking together in truth, honesty, that leads us to these codes, these ways of communicating that is often called excellence. Mentorship provides a context in which we can walk together in honesty and truth, but also walking with us in mentorship introduces you to this word excellence through nonverbal codes. What does it mean? When Brown comes in, remember that day, Brown, you came in? Did you know I was going to use you as the context for this? So you be careful. You never know. All right. One day I said, come on, we're going to do this meeting. You got to be there and show up. And Brown came in, and what you had on? That's right. They got to learn the lessons. He had on shorts at the president's meeting. Now, what did I say to him? Well, let's ask him. Brown, what did I say to you? Don't you ever in your life. No, I'm not going to send him home. Why not? Because I don't know what will happen to him. I don't know why he came in shorts. It could have been the only thing he had clean. I'm never going to turn him away. But I'm going to say the next time you clean those same pants you had on yesterday all night so that you come in here, because we never want to see your knees. Now, until you go work for Google, right? Because you could do that in Google, and you got to understand the corporate culture. This is not the place where you can have that type of corporate culture. Now you can put on suits and J's. We do that all day. Right? That's fine. If you travel, you can not have a tie on. There you go. Hey, that can work. But don't come meeting with me in a pair of shorts. What was your response to that? How did that make you feel? You might as well get a mic. Tell them to bring you a mic, because I might use you once or twice. Because they need to hear and see the interaction. Because I'm going to go somewhere in the next slide. But as he prepares himself, it's very important. But how did that feel? Me telling you, don't you wear no shorts no more?
I think at first it shocked me, but then when I was thinking about it, I was like, all the advice you give me, it's been working so far. So like I'm looking at it, like it was my fault for bringing shorts to the meeting.
You ever did that before?
No, that was last time.
Okay. Well, yeah. Look, man, it's so important, sisters and brothers in the room. Because truth and honesty, when you're walking with someone, allows excellence to emerge. Excellence takes no words. Excellence, you know it. When you've walked with someone who's a good leader, who you know is about your well-being and good intent, he or she does not have to tell you when you're not excellent. When you make a mistake, do we shame you? No. Do we embarrass you? No. Do we send you home? No. But do we allow you to know when you did not hit the mark? Absolutely yes. Why? Because particularly for men of color, you don't have 2 mistakes in you. You don't have it. You want to do another lesson? You know which one I'm going to. All right, so you go. So you go. So you tell them your old story there. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a lack of communication.
Mike is right on time. Look at that. The Lord wants everybody to hear this.
It was a lack of communication on my end to take off on Friday, knowing too Friday is me and Dr. Lucas' days to go over what we're going to do next week.
Now you heard that, right? Mm-hmm. Now Friday is my day to get ready for the week, because I like to be what?
Prepared.
Excellence is about preparation. I want to be prepared. And I meet with everybody on Friday to get ready for the next strategic work week. But my brother one day decided that he was taking off on my preparation day without telling me. All right, now, let's talk about it.
So the lack of communication on my end, when we did meet, he addressed it, and
now you heard that, right? Now, see, many people believe that mentorship is about strategic silence. Mm-hmm. That I'm allowing you to make mistakes and I won't bring it up. But mentorship is the context where we talk about your behaviors and reflect immediately. Because there's a lesson that must be extracted, that if we don't talk about it, no matter how great or how small, I'm preparing you for somebody else to fire you. I'm setting you up for your next failure, not your next success. All right, son.
So I guess after the conversation, I beat myself up a little bit.
That's right.
I looked at it where, I let Dr. Lucas down, so I was like, I felt like, I can't do anything right. This is me talking in my head. So, Then the next day, following day, we had a conversation.
No, he skipped over part. All right, now look. All right, no. So I'm gonna tell it, right? And see, in my office, they say, "Oh Lord, he gonna make everything a lesson. Y'all better be careful now." Well, because see, I have a choice. I can terminate you, or I can make it a teachable moment. Teachable moments always end with laughter. Very important. If we don't have mentoring contexts in which we can take difficult moments, learn from them, and often laugh at the end of them, then I'm not mentoring you because you're not growing. Termination is tears, will force you to have to look for another job. At any point in time, I have the power to make somebody end up on their knees. Not begging, but praying. Lord, where my next job gonna come from? Oh, Lord, what's going on? No. And so I have to use my power wisely to know that I am here to bless people, not to hurt people. I'm not looking for who I need to let go. I'm looking for the next person that needs to be blessed. You never know. Anybody who works here will tell you you can get a raise at any point in time. You never know. Right, Ida? That's true. You never know. I can see something and say, don't they deserve a raise? Ain't that how you got yours?
Correct.
Yeah, you never know. Because I'm constantly inspecting the organization to see who is growing into something more than the previous time I met you. In that context, though, when I see something opposite, we got to talk about it. Right? And so what he did was he quit. So now I tell him, over text message. He quit over the text message. Well, go. Let's talk about it. Yeah, skipped over that part. Yeah. That was that conversation you was talking about.
So we had the conversation on Friday. Then that Saturday morning when
let me interrupt and do this one. Now, he had a good reason for not being there. Good reason. A reason that, if informed, would have been cool. But he informed who you told?
Miss Hayward. That's not in our.
Now, what's Miss Hayward's job?
She's an administrative assistant.
To who?
To somebody different division.
And who you work for?
Dr. Lucas.
So the first part of mentoring in a transcendental leadership perspective is that we got to always travel through the BS. And the points in which we try, and y'all know what BS is. That bull stuff, you know. And I have to always be willing to transform through patience BS to holy S. Now, how does you understand, become holy? No. People have to understand this, right? How do you, because see, if we don't deal with the bull, then you become full of it. And I got to help you change the bullness, hard-headedness, stubbornness, the places you avoided, the bull. And the bull is in all of us, particularly men, right? The bullheadedness, and transform it into holiness. And how do you do that? You got to be patient, but you got to confront it. And you have to say, hey, man, great issue you had to deal. You had to deal with your family. We all have to grow through that. Is that not right? How do you become successful while at the same time living in context where when you're successful, everybody in the family wants you to be what? Everybody wants you to be the source of their new help. It's nothing like, as I tell the people who walk with me, look, the first people to know you got a raise is your family, and they didn't even see your check, wasn't in the room. But it's just some folk in your family who can sense when God blessed you. And as soon as that increased dollar hits your checking account, guess what they do? It's just amazing how their problems coincide with your blessings. You must hear that. It's a phenomenon that you will not change. It's a commitment that we have to our families, that sometimes we're providers for the people who have birthed us. It's real. We adopt our nieces, our nephews, our children. It's who and what we are. We don't shirk that responsibility, but we face the fact that sometimes it drives us crazy, and sometimes the pressure is too much. That's real, isn't it? I mean, we got to talk about real stuff, right? And that is the outcome of the families in which oftentimes we are in that we did not select. But we're not going to leave mama out there, are we? Are you going to leave grandma out there? You going to leave your little niece out there knowing she already got a man in her life that didn't want it and don't show up for it? What you going to do? Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, you going to do it. And you have no choice. We must do it. But we also must face the frustrations that those type of dependencies that we have in our lives leverage on us to often duplicate and replicate unhealthy mentoring relationships. Where when you know you're working for someone who wants to bless you, it will force you to have lapse in judgments at times to do what? Call the executive assistant of another vice president that you don't work for to tell them that you're not going to be in because you don't want to face the fact that I'm going to say what? Why? What you doing? Wait, you don't want me in your business today. Am I lying about it?
No, you're not lying.
Oh, no, I ain't lying. I'm telling the truth. Because I done seen it before. But that's what mentorship is. It's the patience to invade your life. Not when it's convenient for you only. If you're walking with me, then I want you to be whole mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally. And all of those who are mentees here must hear that. You can't want my advice and want to know what I'm doing when everything is going good. Too many mentees commit suicide and suffer mental illness because we're not talking about the right things. As I said, successful men today provide support for their family networks that they chose and they did not choose. Did not choose means your wife or your girlfriend's or your husband's family. Yeah, that's what it is. And it's how do we teach people how to deal with the mantle of success and work with it in a mentoring relationship. So let's go, how did it end? So he texts me, he like quits, right? And I say to him, hey man, I call him up, right?
Yes, correct.
Because you never have those conversations on a text message. Second thing I had to teach him really quickly, does that mean my time is up? Almost. All right. The next message was, the next message was, never give someone the power to let you go. No, you're going to have to evaluate me. You're not going to just let me go. Oh, no. And that was a teachable moment that, hey, Brown, it'll get difficult. And guess what? Sometimes you'll work for somebody and you're walking alongside them and you respect them so much that you don't want to let them down. I think that happens in this environment a lot. Is that not right? Do you think so, Ida? What about you? I know, Brock, you're young in it. But for some reason, I don't know, do people not want to let me down? Yeah, you and Kel. Is that true, Kel? All right. So something about my style makes people not want to let me down. I appreciate it because I don't like to fail. All right. I don't know, does it feel like sometimes a threat of being fired? You feel like I'll terminate you? Sometimes? No. Kiara's the one to always tell me what she's doing. Say, now, you know, I'm great. I'm the greatest worker you have for me. Yeah. All right, well, that's true. See, because we got to be honest. I don't know. Maybe I do create the environment in which they don't want to let me down because they don't want to fail because they think I'll let them go. But I think a lot of them have grown through it. In that context, help me out by understanding what is your response then to me saying to you, because I told him, I said, now you can quit. I'm not going to try to convince you not to, but let me tell you what I meant. That's important, because sometimes we hear things incorrectly, and we don't take instruction well the first hearing. Do you hear that sometimes? That mentee-mentor relationships sometimes break down because people didn't receive it properly. And you have to, here's something for mentors, sometimes you have to reseed that lesson. And that means you have to go in and you have to take that seed back, say, look, maybe that conversation went too fast or was at the wrong time, you didn't hear it. Let's have this conversation one more time so that we're all on the same page about what happened. And then I'll give it back to you.
I'm assuming, so once we had the conversation, I think the main thing when he said, don't give me the powers, because next time you say this, I'm gonna let you go for real. So he said, but also the fact that the way I perceived it, or took his advice, was that, like I said, I let him down once again, or not fulfilling, I guess, the best work that's out there. So I just felt like it would be easier for me just to remove myself than, keep letting him down once over again. But once we talked, he just told me in that situation, it was communication, not letting him down. And he reassured me that, the work is great. It's just that these incidents can't happen again. You just have to let me know if something comes up in your personal life. So,
yeah, never make the same mistake twice. Grow, be vulnerable, listen, hear it. Look, I'm patient enough for you to fail. Why? Because I'm also strong enough to cover your failure. Yeah, you can be disappointed in you, but don't think I got here and ain't been here on other people succeeding for me. Like, look, I done been through lawsuits. I done been through people liking, disliking. I've been through a lot. And I'm here. And I'm here just like he is. You are on the grace of God, not the success or failures of others. Let us be very clear of this. My strength comes from above. And when I always say it, I don't know when my time here is done, but the Lord does. And I'm going to be here as long as the Lord decides. And while I'm here, we're going to do some work. Mentors, mentees, our relationship is not strong because I'm counting on you to fail or succeed. No, you have to make your own decisions about what you will do in life. But I am going to be patient enough, strong enough to wait for your failures to become your successes, to correct you in the times of failures, and to congratulate you in the times of success. Because that's what walking together means. I'll just go to this Lukeisms. All right, so these Lukeisms are things that are part of, so we started a Center for Transcendent Leadership. Transcendent Leadership, Celie is a co-director, that's what you call themselves of the center, in which we train everybody up in the university. And a part of this are various lessons. Here are some lessons. Here's one lesson that I want to leave with you. And this is lesson number 30. And this is just through WisCom. It's just an analytical thing that we do. Transcendent leadership lesson number 30. And there are 30 of them. Celie teaches them for me. And I think sometimes I come down, when they want to invite me, I'll come down and teach lessons. Here is a very important one for you all. Your leadership style comes from people who motivate you 50% of the time, and people who model for you 100% of the time. I want to leave that with you as a context for mentorship and maybe have some Q&A. But the point here is simple. I've learned something. When I used to do interviews and attract leaders to the university, I used to call the people that they had down as mentors. And usually mentors are references. And those people used to tell me all the great things about them. Then I learned something. I need to talk to the people who they worked for. Because people often reflect the leader they worked for, not the leader they aspired to be like. You get me? And in learning from the people they worked for, I realized, oh my God, they lead just like them. They bigots, so they bigots. They're big-headed, they're big-headed. Yes, the mentor is great, but they didn't work for the mentor. Please, in all of your mentoring, be mindful of selecting the people you work for to also be your mentors. Because when you go to that next level, you will emulate what you were around more than the people you wanted to admire. Mentorship in the closing statement, and I guess I'll pass for Q&A. Or you have a second one? Yeah, so you can use that. But mentorship is about our ability to walk with people in an honest, truthful way. Not just males alone, not just young or old, but intergenerational. It doesn't matter the gender of the person, but making room for people to grow with you. They ask me questions all the time about things that sometimes I don't want to talk about, but I must talk about it because it is in that relationship that mentorship happens and replicates transcendent leadership for us. Thank you for listening. And any questions about what I've talked about? And that's pretty much it. Yes.
Thank you so much for, this is the second time I've got a chance to listen to you. I saw you at the conference in Baltimore.
Yes.
Language is kind of important to me, and I noticed that you talked about leadership, you talked about mentoring, and you talked about people walking with you.
Yes.
Not once did I hear you say follow, which concerns me because walking with you, are they going to walk with you over the cliff? Are they going to walk with you into the moat? And so by not using the word follow, and I see you as a leader, I'm somewhat perplexed.
Okay. I'll use Ida as an example on this. And just being in my house here, I just have so many different ways to answer the question. So Ida, come get the mic and we'll talk to this. Yeah, I'm gonna use you, Ida, come on. And none of this is practice. They didn't know, be ready. You're gonna show up in the room, you know, I'm gonna use you. All right, so great question, right? So in a mentor, senpai, kohai leadership relationship, where does following take its context? You're absolutely right. I eradicate the notion of following. And oftentimes I will call that leading from behind. And leading from behind is important because it allows a transcendental leader to become a follower also. It is a dimension of servant leadership in which the leader, when the leader follows, then the leader becomes a stronger leader. And it is another way to say it that some will say it, Peter Drucker, many have used the term to say the more power you give away, the more power you get in return. The more power you try to hold on to yourself, the more power is taken away. Some of the greatest lessons I've learned in being a leader, particularly a president, was the moments in which I've slowed down. I can move fast. I can have expectations that are so high. And sometimes I have to do what? Slow down. It is in the times when I have slowed down that the people walk with me through the crises, often called muck, mire, molehills, the cliffs. And we've been able to walk together because I've learned how to walk at the pace of the people who are walking with me. Or the contextualization of the pace is another word for understanding. You can only lead people to places they can see, but you can't give them sight. Right? It's very important that you wait for them to understand where it is. The context for this, and a great practical lesson, was in a time where I was trying to figure out how to lead the leaders. So I started out because I wanted everybody to hear my voice, to have VPs, AVPs, and everybody in one room over there together. It was how many of us, Ida?
It was 27.
About 27. I would meet with them every Tuesday. And then Ida joined in the meeting. And it was just the inspiration of the Lord, because I always check in. And I said, Ida, you got the answer. Tell me, what's going on? And tell them, Ida, what you told me.
I told them that before the president met once a week with only the vice presidents. And then that allowed people under the vice presidents to keep working, and then that the message would go from the vice presidents down to the other people.
Now, I didn't want that, right? I said, Ida, why? That's that, trickle down thing. I want to be a person of people, and I want it to be collaborative. And then Ida, tell me what you told me. She says,
I'm old, I don't remember.
Okay. She does. She said she don't remember that part. But that's how I remember. I was on the couch in Carter's office.
Yep.
And then she came and she said to me, she said, Dr. Lucas, but that's not how you're going to get from people from talking to doing. Remember? And you gave me the conversation about talking and doing. And her context was for me, hey, man, you want something and you're moving so fast to these ideals that you are missing the one lesson. And this is why I got to slow down and walk with the people and not let them follow me from all the way up there and they follow in this straight line. Here's the lesson. It's something that may be good for your orgs. But she said, the vice presidents can't learn in the same space as the people who work for them. Because what I was doing was creating a context where those leaders could not raise their hand and admit what they did not know in a safe space so they can learn what they need to learn to execute on what my expectation was. Clearly, I heard that. I made the adjustment the next week, and our productivity shot up 30% in the next week. Simply because the vice presidents, just 6 of them, got the opportunity to learn from me and ask the questions without feeling like they were being embarrassed by the people who work for them, knowing more faster. And ambition, makes people that way, a little ambitious, and so they work that way. But that is why I don't have fellowship, and where I want them to walk with me, because you never know where the wisdom will come from despite the title. And in this context, it was an operations manager who just came to me and said, Dr. Lucas, I got the solution. Okay, well, there are no other questions and no other words, and anybody else have any reflections, then Doctor, I thank you for the opportunity. I hope that my words have inspired and blessed in some way. If it has not, that's okay. YouTube something else later and it'll feed you. But I really appreciate you coming to Virginia Union University. It is just so very important for us to be connected to communities of thought like this. If anybody has another conference or anything you want to do, if it can work on our schedule, please let us know. I'll be happy to facilitate. Thank you again to JV Education Consultants, Dr. Vance.